Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Shri Gangai Nathay Namah, Jai Shri Gurudev, Jai Shri Dada Gurudev. Jai Shri Gurudev to everyone. Let's start our today's session. First, let's talk about basic uh, basic information of Siddhi Yoga. Siddhi Yoga is an empowered yoga. It is different than the normal yoga we do, as it is known as a physical exercise generally, because the master sits outside and gives you instructions how to do the particular posture. So master sits outside and instruct you to do yoga or postures. So this is simple yoga what we know about. But the Siddha yoga is empowered yoga, enlightened yoga. In this, the master sits inside of us. All right. Now, whatever happens internally. How does it happen? Now, Gurudev Ramlal ji Siyag is an empowered guru, is capable guru, capable master. He has two power. He attained two powers, two siddhis. One in 1969, that is Gayatri Siddhi, Nirgun Nirakar Siddhi, and in 1984 he attained another power, that is Krishna Siddhi, Sagun Sakar Siddhi. So he has the control over ether, entire ether in the universe, and entire matter in the universe. All right. Because of these two siddhis, he has the capability to enlighten you, to bring transformation in you, the same transformation he attained during his lifetime. Because of these two siddhis, his photo is enlightened. He said, if I will be no more in this body, my photo will remain in the world till the last human being on this earth remain. So my photo will not die because it is been enlightened like me. So it is the only photo in the entire universe since the creation of the universe which can bring changes into the any person, any human being. The matter is bringing change into the human being, which is soul, which is spirit. So it is a matter of investigation for the scientist how a matter can transform the human beings, the living beings, the spirit. So this is a subject of investigation for the scientists. Why it is happening, we discussed in very detail in the last session. This is ninth session. The eighth session we discussed in very detail why it is happening, why it is subject of investigation. We also discussed in the fifth or fourth session that why should I meditate, why someone should meditate on the photo of a human, why guru is not a simple human being, why he is equal to the god. That we discussed in very detail. If you have these two doubts, you can go back and you can see those sessions. Now what happens in the Siddhi Yoga? Gurudev Ramlal ji Siyag gives you the Sanjeevani mantra initiation. No matter where you are sitting in the entire world, you just listen the Sanjeevani mantra in his divine voice. Once you listen to it, what you need to do? You need to sit in front of his picture, take out the printout of his picture from the internet, write Gurudev Shri Ramlal ji Siyag picture. You will find the picture of Gurudev and Dada Gurudev, his Guru, Shri Gangai Nath ji. Now keep the photo in front of you, just make a prayer. Hey Shri Gurudev, I am this and that, tell your details. I am suffering from this particular problem, or you may not be suffering with any problem. You are just being a enthusiast of knowing what happens in the spirituality, on the path of spirituality. You get a capable master. So just make a prayer, however you want to connect with the master, and ask for the 15 minutes of meditation. The time is very important, because as much time you will ask, you will sit for the meditation. Because you cannot sit for the longer meditations, because when you sit for the meditation, your kundalini will wake up, and kundalini is the heat energy. Okay, it might make you do some yoga, some kriyas. So when it does, it makes you do some kriyas, the heat generate in the body. So generally, for the starters, for the initiators, for the new disciples, it is good for the 15 minutes of meditations. So now you get the mantra, listen the mantra carefully, take out the printout, sit in front of the picture, make a prayer for the 15 minutes of meditation. Now during that 15 minutes, whatever happens, you need not to worry about it. That something is happening automatically, how my body is being controlled. You need not to worry about that. After 15 minutes, all the kriyas will stop. You will know the potential of the Guru. Once you establish the connection of faith between you and Guru, you can move towards the path of spirituality. Now, the mantra you have got, you have to chant that mantra as much as possible. And while chanting the mantra, you must not move your lips and tongue. So, it is a mental job. For 15-20 days, if you do it rigorous chanting, you do chanting whatever work you are doing in the entire day. No matter what you are doing, you can chant that mantra. No need to sit properly and find a time and then you will chant the mantra. You can chant the mantra anytime possible. Chant as much as possible, mental chanting. After 15-20 days, you enter into the Laya Yoga, Rhythm Yoga. What is Rhythm Yoga? In this yoga, the mantra you are chanting will be on auto mode. It will be involuntary mental chanting will keep on going till you live. So for the entire life, this ajapa jap will continue. This is the plus point, that now we need not to worry about mental chanting, or we have to remember, okay, we need to do jap. Because without Sanjeevani mantra, without chanting the mantra, nothing will happen on the path of spirituality. Specifically, Guru Siyag Siddhi Yoga. Very much important mental chanting. But we know the stages of our Siddhi Yoga. First is that you enter into rhythmic yoga, that is Laya Yoga, that is Ajapa Jap. When you keep chanting the mantra, even after the Ajapa Jap or the rhythmic yoga you enters into, you still need to chant the mantra as much as possible. But after some certain time, you enter into the further advanced stage of the rhythmic yoga or lay yoga, which is called the Nad Yoga. Nad Yoga is called, in Hindi it is called Anhat Nad. Anhad Nad. In English it is called internal sound. So when internal sound starts in your meditation or on the path of spirituality, you now will listen a voice coming out of your ear, maybe left or maybe right. It does not matter much. So when the voice is coming from your ear, you should not misunderstand it with the misunderstood it with the tinnitus. Tinnitus is a problem, medical problem, where some people hear their ears are ringing or there are noise in their ear, but it is not like that. When Nad Yoga starts, when you are into the Nad Yoga, the sound, the internal sound you hear does not fall on your eardrums. It doesn't feel like it is the sound is falling on my eardrum. It is very soothing. So once it starts, you need to pay more attention to the nad now. You are doing mental chanting, that is fine, you can do it. You are doing any mechanical work, you can chant the mantra. But when you are starting listening this sound, internal sound, you must pay attention during whenever you have a leisure time, like you are going to bed. You must pay attention sometime to your nad. You listen to it because it is important. It takes you the deeper into your consciousness. Your meditation gets deeper. You have more experiences of transformation in your nature, in your life. There is no miracle will happen in your social life, but lot of changes will come into your social life by changing your behavior, your outlook, and lot of things which are the bondages for us, for the material world, that will start breaking up. and you will develop the natural interest toward the nature and towards yourself and towards the spirituality. That is the big changes start coming when you enter into the rhythmic yoga or the lay yoga. And as much as you pay attention to your internal sound, you your transformation takes a really it speeds up your transformation. But remember, the nad you must not hear when you are doing some important work, like you're doing some electricity work, you are driving a machine, you are doing something which you need your attention. Because when you listen to the internal sound, you goes into dizziness. All right, so you may fall asleep, you may go into some thought processes and all, because we go inside us. What is inside us? We are all of our thoughts. If we initially we enter, um, we turn our direction towards ourselves, we see we have lot of thoughts. That's what we are in actually. But when we go deeper into our consciousness, we go beyond our thoughts. So when we start listening to the nad, it crosses the thought processes to go to the deeper consciousness, and you fall asleep in initial stages. So you should not listen to the nad when you are doing some important work. Only listen to the nad when internal sound, when you are at the leisure, you are at the free time, you can lay down back, you can fall asleep. Okay, this is the few stages which are the which you can notify yourself that yes, I am progressing on the path of spirituality, that my master is capable, that he is transforming me, his mantra is transforming in me, his meditation is transforming me, I am meditating on him. That means he is god. Otherwise a human cannot make any transformation in you. Only a god particle which is in us as a soul can transfer us. Okay, this is the basic of Siddhi Yoga. Now we are reading out the Gurudev's book, which is Religious Revolution in the World. We have already read some important information about Kundalini, Siddhi Yoga and everything. You can go back to this session and you can check those things. Now today we will start the life sketch of Guru Siyag. Alright. Guru Ramlal ji Siyag in 90s, one of Guru Ramlal ji Siyag, at that time Gurudev was 90 years old. Guru Ramlal ji Siyag, one of India's contemporary saint, has gifted the world with a unique form of yoga derived from ancient India's rich Vedic spirituality heritage. The founder and patron of Adhyatam Vigyan Satsang Kendra, a Jodhpur based spiritual organization. Guru Siyag, an householder, was born in village Palana, sand blown village of Bikaner in India's northwestern district of Rajasthan. Revered by thousands of disciples all over India, Guru Siyag has been spearheading a quite spiritual revolution since the mid 1980s. When inexplicable experiences prompted him to give up the ordinary material life he was leading until then, and to begin a new quest for bringing about a practical divine transformation of mankind. Humble beginnings. Guru Siyag was born into a poor peasant family in Plana, a small village with a typical agrarian backdrop 25 km to the south of the city of Bikaner. On November 24th, 1926, Gurudev's childhood was marked by an intense struggle for survival, made more difficult by the sudden demise of his father when he was barely 3 years old. As there was no one else in his family to take care of him while his mother was at work, Gurudev had to be shifted to a local orphanage during this period. Gurudev managed to go to a local school and finish his high school level studies. However, when he turned 18, his mother's old age compelled Gurudev to give up any dreams he may have entertained of college education and to take up a clerk's job with the Indian Railways. He soon got married and started a family. In the years that followed, he eventually had 5 children, a daughter and four sons. Shadow of death. The winter of 1968 proved to be watershed in Gurudev's life. His humdrum life was suddenly upset when he was seized by an inexplicable fear of death. Though he wasn't down with any illness, a soothsayer told Gurudev that he was under Markesh Dasha, a constellation of planets casting a spell of death. The only way to escape imminent death, some local Hindu clerics told him, was to invoke the blessings of goddess Gayatri through a special ritual. Gayatri, the goddess of cosmic light, alone could rescue him from the clutches of death. He was advised to perform a havan, lighting a sacred fire, and to chant the Gayatri mantra daily every morning for the invocation to be complete and offer him the divine protective shield. He was told he would have to conduct the ritual until he had finished chanting the mantra 1,25,000 times. 125,000 times. In the October of 1968, Gurudev began the ritual in earnest during Navaratri, a 9-day festival dedicated to the feminine divine Shakti. He would rise in the wee hours of morning every day and chant the sacred Gayatri mantra over Havan for a couple of hours before getting ready to go to the office. The pressure of illogical panic that had seized was so intense that he performed the daily ritual with utmost sincerity and concentration. It took him 3 months to complete the ritual. Recalling those days, Gurudev was to comment later that it was as if a divine force had propelled him into an artificial state of fear, only to change the mundane life that he had led until then, and to guide him unto the spiritual path. Life changing experience. On December 31st, 1968, the day he finished the ritual, Gurudev went to bed thinking that he would wake up during the normal morning hour the next day, now that he was through with the Ardaus Gayatri worship. However, having got used to rising early, he woke up in the wee hours next morning. On January 1st, 1969, just as he opened his eyes and sat up in bed, he felt the inside of his body light up with an immensely bright white light. It was a kind of bright light that he could not compare with any other, not even with sunlight. He noticed that the light illuminated his body from the inside. The light was neither warm nor cold. It just brought a wave of soothing peace. He was soon immersed completely in a state of joy and bliss that he had never known to exist. The light gave him an inner vision. Gurudev saw that despite the clear bright light that illuminated his body from the inside, he could not detect the presence of his organs, as if his body were a mere empty shell. Having worked occasionally as a helper in the hospital's morgue, having worked occasionally as a helper in a railway hospital's morgue, where doctors performed postmortems on deceased patients, Gurudev had known the placement of various internal organs, muscles, and bones in the human body. And yet he could see none of it inside his own body. He soon became aware of buzzing sound as if a swarm of bees were creating a racket over a honeycomb. When he focused on the sound, he realized it was emanating from the center of his navel. As he concentrated, he noticed too, to his astonishment, that the buzzing was nothing but the Gayatri mantra being repeated at an amazingly high speed, making it sound like the buzzing of bees. He was to learn much later that the Gayatri mantra that he had previously chanted through willful efforts had now become established as a non stop self run process, linking him permanently to the divine force. The divine glow brought another discovery for Gurudev. He realized that behind the facade of his identity and existence in the material world, he was a very different entity altogether. He was neither bound by his physical limitations nor was his personal awareness restricted to the physical world that he inhabited. He felt as if His personal being had expanded so vastly that he could embrace the whole universe. In fact, he felt he was the universe and he could feel the vibrations of all the animate and inanimate beings inhabiting it as if they were his own. He realized too through this unique experience that he was indeed what the ancient Vedic seers had called Brahma, the all pervading, changeless, and amorphous divine force. Just as Gurudev was marveling at this extraordinary experience and was afloat on the waves of joy, peace, and love, the fantastic vision broke off as suddenly as it had occurred. The gurgling sound of water suddenly gushing out of an open tap in the bathroom close to his bed had disturbed the trance like state he was in. When he consulted some Pandits well versed in the Holy Scriptures about this particular experience, he was told that he had indeed been blessed by the goddess Gayatri with the Siddhi, special divine power. They, however, advised him to use his power to get himself out of material difficulties he was constantly facing. Gurudev politely declined to heed their advice. He believed that God had not changed his life and put him on the spiritual path so that he could make money and lead a comfortable material life. If God had turned him to divinity, Gurudev realized he must have done so for a special purpose and that he would show the way ahead too. During his spiritual pursuit in the ensuing months, Gurudev came up the philosophy pronounced by Swami Vivekananda, one of the 20th century's greatest spiritual figure, who led the revival of the Vedic scripture, Vedic spiritual heritage, not just in India but also in America and Europe. Swamiji's emphasis on the practical transformation of humanity through Vedic principles that offered universal application inspired Gurudev and lifted his spirits. Vivekananda strongly advocated practice of Vedic philosophy through the revival of guru-disciple system, which alone he believed could lead to the spiritual evolution around the world. Meeting with Baba Shri Gangai Nathji. The picture you see behind, he is Baba Gangai Nathji, his guru, our guru's guru. Heeding Swami Vivekananda's advice, Gurudev began search for a guru in right earnest. One of the Gurudev's relatives suggested he go to Baba Shri Gangai Nathji, an ascetic yoga who lived in the village of Jamsar, 27 kilometers to the north of Bikaner. In April 1983, Gurudev visited the ashram. There was nothing extraordinary about this first meeting. A group of people had gathered to meditate in Gangai Nathji's presence. Gurudev sat at the back of his crowd simply observing, while there was no interaction between the two in the meeting. Something prompted Gurudev to visit Baba's ashram a few days later again. It was during the second visit, when Gurudev bowed and touched Baba's feet, that the master touched Gurudev's head by way of blessings. The moment Baba touched Gurudev, he felt a tremendous vibration like a bolt of lightning passing through his body. This was Baba's way of giving Diksha, initiating Gurudev in the unique form of Siddhi Yoga. No words were exchanged as Gurudev left the ashram soon. Little did Gurudev realize then that he had just met the Guru he was searching for and that his life had taken a new turn. Strange events. As Gurudev's involvement in his spiritual evolution deepened, his interest in his material life began to wane. But the pressing needs of his young family pushed him into the state of deep turmoil. The mental turmoil he felt grew worse by May-June 1983 and continued even after the ashram visit. By the end of August 1983, it grew so worse that Gurudev could no longer attend to work in the office and stayed away without applying for leave. Then came a big jolt on December 31st, 1983 at 5 am. The entire northwest of India was rocked by a severe earthquake. Seconds before the earth shook, Gurudev was jolted out of deep slumber in the wee hours that morning by the strange shock. Gurudev was to learn later that it was precisely the moment when Baba Gangai Nathji had left his mortal body. A few days after this incident, when Gurudev was walking down the road, a local youth called out to him. What he told Gurudev sounded very strange. The youth said Baba Shri Gangai Ji had been pestering him to get Gurudev to visit his Ramsar Samadhi. When Gurudev countered that Baba was no longer alive, that he could not therefore have met him, the youth said the monk has been appearing in his dream to give him the command, taking this for a divine call. Gurudev visited Baba's Samadhi and offered prayers there. A cardinal principle in the Vedic thought is that the soul is eternal and that it is the body that dies when a person passes away. It is also believed that the spiritual master or the saint continues to guide his disciples even after leaving his mortal body. The samadhi of the saint is therefore revered as a fount of the divine blessings. Baba's message from the afterworld. As his meditation grew stronger, Gurudev began receiving inner messages from Baba, guiding him through the turbulent waters that lay ahead. It soon became clear to Gurudev beyond doubt that it was Baba Shri Gangai Ji who was the Guru he was looking for. Gurudev also realized that disciple, despite leaving his mortal body, Baba could guide him on the spiritual path without any hindrance and with potent force. Baba soon made Gurudev realize that he was not destined to lead a mundane life. It was made clear to him on numerous occasions during deep meditation that Gurudev was ordained to lead a spiritual revolution to transform the entire mankind. The transformation that Gurudev was undergoing himself was in fact meant to prepare him for that onerous task ahead. Gurudev was to learn years later through the writings of Sri Aurobindo, of one of India's yogi of 20th century, that divine transformation of one human being would eventually herald the transformation of the entire mankind, as that enlightened person would lead the way. Gurudev was told in no uncertain words that he was the chosen one for this mission. Prophetic visions. It was during these turbulent times in 1984 that Gurudev was visited by yet another strange happening, whose implications would impact humanity in the years ahead. One night after he had retired to bed, he had a vision in a dream. In the vision, he was shown a passage from what he could vaguely perceive to be a holy book, and a voice pronounced, "Thou art that. Thou art that." The next morning, Gurudev mulled over the strange vision and tried to understand if what he was in the dream was the vision, or just a strange dream, and what the words "Thou art that" meant. Since the passage was in Hindi, Gurudev could recall some words of the passage, but they made no sense to him. A couple of days later, Gurudev's youngest son, Rajendra, brought home an old dog eared book while walking home from school. The young boy felt a strange urge to pick up the book when he noticed it lying abandoned in a cobbler's shop by the roadside. As Gurudev turned the pages of the book with no particular interest, he was jolted to attention when he noticed a passage in one of the pages. It was the same passage that he was shown in the dream. He read the book over and again for a few days but could not fathom what it was about. All he could gather was that the book meant for children was illustrated with pictures to explain to them in a simple terms that Christian's faith. Not being very religious himself, Gurudev was not conversant deeply with the Hindu scriptures, much less be aware of philosophy of other faiths. Though the dream remained a puzzle for him, Gurudev began experiencing a new calm. He returned to Bikaner from Plana, where he had taken a refuge following his turmoil-ridden phase, reported back to work, and resumed normal duties in the office. Strangely, no one took any serious objection to his long unofficial absence from the work, which would have normally led to his being fired from the job. It was as if he had never deserted his job at all. This was 2 years after he had first prayed at Samadhi of his Guru Baba Shri Gangai Ji. Okay, this is 9 p.m. now, and we still have some main two topics remaining: biblical predictions and assuming the role of Siddha Guru. I will continue with these two pages because it is very important to read the every detail of this particular portion altogether. So I am going ahead. Biblical predictions. Once back in Bikaner, Gurudev asked around in his social circle if Christians followed any holy book like the Hindus did the Bhagavad Gita. It was then that they learnt about the Bible. He was told the passage from the holy book, which was shown to him in the vision formed a part of the Gospels in the Bible written by Saint John, and that what he had seen in the dream were chapters 15, 26, 27, and 16 ratio 7, 15. Later, a friend who had taken a short course in the Bible to familiarize himself with the holy book presented Gurudev with the Hindi version in a booklet form. Reading the booklet gave Gurudev some idea about Christianity. He managed to borrow a copy of the Bible from a friend who was a lecturer in a local law college. Reading the Bible in the English did not prove to be of any help either. He did not find the passage he was looking for. Giving up, Gurudev returned the book and dropped the subject once again, thinking it was the end of the episode. But that was not to be. The inner urge returned now with greater intensity, making queries once again. He learned something that surprised him. Christianity was divided among many sects, two main among them being Catholics and Protestants. While the Bible he had read earlier was followed by Catholics, the one followed by Protestants contained the passage from St. John's Gospels that he was shown in the dream. With Baba's blessings, Gurudev did manage to get a copy of the Protestant Bible and read the Gospel that he was being constantly guided to. The relevant part of Gospels contained a prophecy made by none other than Jesus himself of the advent of the Comforter, who he prophesied would save only the truly faithful from certain death, while the rest of humanity faced terrible divine retribution in the global calamity brought on by war and famine in the 21st century. Gurudev was to learn later that the Old Testament, the first part of the Bible that Jewish people follow, contains similar prophecies made by Prophet Malachi about the advent of the Messiah, whom he describes as Elijah. Reading prophecies from the holy book followed by both the Christians and the Jewish people made Gurudev realize that they were somehow linked to the preaching offered by Lord Krishna in the Gita. Thousands of years ago that preceded Christianity and Judaism. Assuming the role of Siddha Guru, reading further about what the Comforter is I'm not able to pronounce this word. Prophecies, it comes from the prophecies, prophesied to do, convinced Gurudev that somehow he had a role to play in the realization of these prophecies through the inner yoga that he was learning during deep meditation since the Navratri incident. During meditation, since his return to Bikaner and resuming the office work, Gurudev received an Adesh command from the Baba that he should quit his job and dedicate himself fully to the spiritual mission entrusted to him. Gurudev quit his job through voluntary retirement on January 30th, 1986, nearly 7 years before reaching his superannuation age. Gurudev was to comment later, I was serving the railways earlier, now I am serving my Guru. This is the lifelong job that I can never quit. I have left the worries of the material needs for my family entirely to him. I am my Guru's faithful servant. Whatever I may gain or lose in this mission will be according to his wish. Baba also conferred Gurudom on Guru Siyag and directed him to initiate people into Siddhi Yoga as his disciples. Gurudev started initiating people into Siddhi Yoga in 1990s through Diksha programs initially in Jodhpur and a few other cities in Rajasthan. Those who came to Gurudev and became his disciple experienced an amazing positive change in their lives. They found their disease, chronic ailments cured, and felt spiritual awakening through chanting of the divine mantra that Gurudev gave them during these programs and the meditation they did along with the chanting. As word about Gurudev's unique Siddha Yoga and healing power spread like wildfire, Gurudev was invited to other cities and towns to conduct Diksha programs. Gurudev has since then traveled to different cities in India and also to Israel and the United States of America, and put thousands of people on the path of spiritual evolution and good health. However, Gurudev says that he is only halfway through his mission. He believes that until he reaches out to the people across the globe in the Western Hemisphere to motivate them to join the spiritual path that Baba Shree Gangai ji has shown, there will be no real peace and prosperity in the world. Spiritualism of the East needs to join hands with the materialism of the West, without which the world will never see the end of conflicts and discord. It is this spiritual union of the East and West that I have set out to accomplish to usher in lasting peace in the world, says Gurudev. So, this is his life sketch. Now, I will play his divine mantra because I don't have the video right now with me. I'll just play the video on my computer. You just hear it, what Gurudev needs to say.
The divine yoga. What does yoga mean? Yoga means a union of the soul with God or the universal consciousness force. What are the benefits of Siddhi Yoga? Siddhi Yoga heals, cures or frees the body from any physical illness, aids various forms of cancers, diabetes, arthritis, asthma, and even genetic disease like hemophilia. In the case of disease such as AIDS, which attacks the entire body, the patient may experience internal kriyas like sensation or heat, electricity or tingling. According to Siddhi Yoga philosophy, the divine power awakened by the enlightened Guru gets transmitted through his blissful voice to the listeners, irrespective of language spoken by the Guru. This divine power transmissions occurs smoothly and remain unaffected by the language being used. The regular practice of Siddhi Yoga strengthens the immune system. The Kundalini acts as a protective shield of the immune system and wards off the onslaught or recurrence of any disease. Impact of Kundalini awakening. The Kundalini makes the practitioner perform kriyas that are specific to his needs. With this cleaning, the practitioner is cured of all kinds of chronic and even terminal disease such as HIV, AIDS, cancer, arthritis, etc. and genetic disorder like hemophilia. Mental application too are completely cured and stress is completely relieved. Cling, Krishna, cling, 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 cling, Krishna, cling.
Okay, this is the Sanjeevani mantra you just heard in the voice of Shri Gurudev. You can find this mantra and video on the internet. Just search Gurudev Shri Ramlal ji Siyag Sanjeevani mantra initiation in English. You'll find this small video and you can follow the mantra closely for the proper chanting, proper pronunciation. Okay, so for today that's it, and that's all for today. Tomorrow we will meet at 8:30 Indian time and we will continue further this book and we'll read out what else we need to know. Prophecies, what are the prophecies made by different people in the world about Gurudev, how these prophecies are coming true with respect to Gurudev, what Jesus said in the Bible for the comforter, and how it is exactly true for the Gurudev's life, how they are matching prophecies, we will read out tomorrow. Till then, Jai Shri Gurudev.